Like, comment, and subscribe to J New Orleans.
Episode 5, Part 2. Before we get into how to build and repair your credit, I want to say happy belated Mardi Gras. And if you didn't attend Mardi Gras, you know what they say there is no Mardi Gras, like absolutely no Mardi Gras. So you still a part. But we need to talk about something most people never explain because bad credit doesn't just limit opportunity, it creates an economy around your disadvantage. They have entire industries designed to make money off people with poor or damaged credit. And the less financially literate someone is, the more expensive life can become, especially because a lot of the things that we want that are out of our income bracket is behind a loan or behind a credit card swipe that has all kinds of interest that's going to cost us way more later. And how do people profit off bad credit? When your credit score is low, lenders see you as high risk, so they charge more to offset that risk. That is called risk based pricing. Two people could buy the same car, live in the same apartment complex, or take out the same loan, but the person with lower credit pays significantly more over time, not because the products cost more, but because the risk rating is higher. So bad credit doesn't just affect your odds of being approved, it affects the cost you pay after you're approved. So you pay more for excess. And a real life example is like if two people finance the same $25,000 car, person A has a 760 credit score, so they get 5% interest. Person B has a 580 credit score, so they get 18% interest. And over the life of the loan, person B may pay 8,000 to 12,000 more for the exact same vehicle. And that's the cost of low or bad credit. And the industries that prey on low or bad credit are subprime auto loans, those dealerships you'll usually see on the side of the road that have in-house financing. They approve buyers quickly, but at extremely high interest rates. Many buyers focus on the monthly payment, not realizing how much interest they're absorbing. And they sell people like that because they know that most people are just trying to get to point A to point B and they have a limited income monthly. So it'll be easier to sell you this car that probably was 3,000 from the auction, but I'm gonna finance it to you for 12,000, and then I'm gonna sell it to you with a $200 a month car note, which sounds good in the short term, but in the long run, you might finance it for 5 to 7 years, and then over that period of time, you pay way more than $12,000, and they prey on that fact. And a lot of the time, some of them cars are not even up to par to even have a car note on them. So not only do you have a car note now and car insurance, and then a lot of them want full coverage insurance. So you're going to pay the max for whatever your insurance rate is. And on top of that, since a lot of the cars were not mechanically inspected or bought up to code, you having vehicle trouble on top of a car note. Not to mention, if the tires were bad, you're gonna need that too. Or if you somebody who on the interstate a lot, you're gonna need oil changes. It's just so many factors in there. Payday loans is another one. Payday loan lenders offer fast cash advances, but with triple digit APR rates. Some loans exceed 300% interest annually, which is whatever you borrow, multiply that by 300%. And that's how much you're going to have to pay them back. But you're paying it back over however many months, weeks, whatever it takes for you to borrow it. And they're designed for short term borrowing, but they often trap borrowers in cycles of renewal. Rent to own stores, furniture, electronics, appliances, marketed as no credit needed, but items often cost 2 to 3 times the retail value by the end of payments. So you might get a living room set that's $500 on the showroom floor, but with a rental place, you'll be then paid instead of $500, they'll be then charge you $1,500 over the period of time, and you're paying a premium for access. Another one is high fee credit cards, and these are cards marketed to bad credit consumers. They often include annual fees, monthly maintenance fees, high interest rates, low limits. So even responsible use can still be expensive. So with those cards, say if you don't use them at all, you're still going to have monthly maintenance fees, high interest rates, low limits, and annual fees. But the good thing about that is that you can build your credit up so that you won't need those particular cards, and you can switch to cards or get the offers from cards that don't have all of those fees. Then they also have buy here, pay here dealerships. These dealers finance vehicles in-house. Approval can be easy, but interest rates and repossession risk are extremely high. Many cars are priced above market value. And that's similar to the dealerships we mentioned earlier, where basically you're financing it and you pay way more, like the sale price is higher than what the car is worth. And then after the sale price is financed, the interest rate over time is higher than the worth of the car too. And then how bad credit makes life harder is not just loans. Bad credit affects everyday living. For housing, lower scores can mean higher deposits, co-signer requirements, application denials. As a matter of fact, I could just go through this with, let's see, no, never mind. I was gonna share the thing, but it got all of this stuff on the side. Insurance can also be impacted. Low credit can increase auto insurance premiums, rental insurance costs, even though it's not driving related. And a side note too, for auto insurance, the more lapses you have, that's the lower your auto insurance score is, because it's based off of how long you keep insurance concurrently. And whenever you lapse in insurance, the system or the last known insurance company you had keeps that tab that you canceled your insurance, and the next company that you get does an insurance history check, and they're able to count the amount of months you didn't have insurance. And that can also keep your insurance rates high as well. And for utilities, poor credit can require deposits for electricity, higher service setup fees. I also seen in certain cities they have predatory electricity companies where they say prepaid, or they have like they use like honeypot type phrases to lure you in, but overall you end up paying more than the person who just pays monthly based off usage. Like my one of my first electricity companies in the 20th century was a company where it was averaging 400 a month for a small one bedroom. But then when I switched over to an actual credit based company, my bill was only $50 a month because it wasn't really any much electricity being used, because you don't get charged electricity for the streets. When you're in the streets, you don't need electricity. So my electricity bill at home was kind of low. And employment, some employers run credit checks, especially for financial or security roles, because with financial or security roles, they're trying to limit the risk of them having anyone on their team that is a threat, that is capable of stuff, even though it's not possible to do that, because we see all of the time people in those roles doing a big one and going to the big one. But in this instance, it'll open more doors for you if you're someone who want to do financial or security roles, if the employers you're applying to heavily rely on credit score. And the psychological toll beyond finances, bad credit makes stress, and it limits mobility. It delays milestones like home ownership, reliable transportation, business funding, and it makes survival more expensive and progress slower. And this is why building credit isn't just about numbers, it's about reducing the cost of living in modern society. Because once your credit improves, you stop paying penalties for past mistakes and start accessing opportunities at fair pricing. So now that we understand the stakes, let's walk through how to build and repair your credit step by step. Before we begin, I wanted to take a moment to remind y'all that on none of these videos, none of my word usage was in the way of pointing blame or shoulda, coulda, woulda, coulda, woulda, da, 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 da. So you shouldn't do that to yourself as well. Like if you hear you have some form of interest in something, either the person posting the content, the details of the content, or something. So that is a start. You always have to start somewhere. Unless you have powers of chaos magic and you can just make things appear completely in its full form with no work done in creating it, then you should not expect results to come in that same way. And also, the society is built on all of our flaws. If you look at everything around us, no matter what lenses you have access to, because the world has to be looked at in multiple lenses in order to have some type of understanding. So if you limit it in lenses, it's going to sometimes be a bit overwhelming, sometimes seem confusing, sometimes seems a lot of things. So I say all that to say you are not the only one. 40 million people are with you. 40 million people have poor or bad credit scores, anywhere from 300 to 579, while another 15 to 20% have 580 to 669. Additionally, nearly 45 Americans are considered credit invisible or unscorable. Overall, roughly 30% have subprime credit. And also, it's cliche at this point, but the whole they didn't teach credit in school. So for some people, you may have, like from childhood, remember maybe the goals were to do certain things in school, or if you were an extracurricular, achieve something in extracurricular. And then after a certain age, maybe it was to pursue the gender of your choice, or focus on your looks, or focus on your popularity. And then for overachievers, it was going to the best colleges, or doing different things like that. Then it shifted from that. Some of us had adulthood start early. So some of us, while some of us were still in middle school and high school, some of us was already in the real world. Then from there, some of us became parents. Some of us moved away. Some of us, it's so many different things we had in life. And then as life go on, you're experiencing all of that. Then you maintaining friendships. For people who have jobs, you maintaining social status at that job. You having so many different things that you're constantly maintaining. Then once you add social media into it, now you over aware of all types of distracting things now. Then you also having different forms of information you having to follow. Where in that time do you have to just become the Einstein of credit scores? So it's like, it's great that we wish we knew stuff sooner, but unless you have built the time machine that we don't know about, is literally nothing you can do about yesterday. Yesterday is meant for lessons. And if it's positive yesterdays, they meant for encouragement for better tomorrows. But the more time we spend worrying about yesterday, we're still missing right now. The being stuck in the past is the equivalent of going to see part two of a movie. And while you in that movie, you pull out an iPad or whatever device you use and watch part one simultaneously as they both going on. That's exactly what being stuck in the past is. Now, if you about that life, or if you are able to have that much attention span, tell me how that worked for you. If you're able to go to a movie and watch the part two or a whole different thing simultaneously, you're not. So you here now, and let's just get started. So in part one, we broke down how credit scores work, but understanding the system and navigating it are two completely different things. Because here's the reality: you can have great money, have a stable job, even save consistently, and still get denied for apartments, cars, and loans. If your credit profile isn't built, no credit makes you invisible. Bad credit makes you a risk. So today we're solving both problems. Well, we're not solving both problems. We're discussing solutions to both problems. Because for me, I'm just a center who's probably going to center again. So I'm not a specialist of any sort, even though the information has been fruitful for myself. Everyone learns differently. And that's another reminder. When I give out information, I will never have the expectation that everything I say is 100% understandable because number one, everyone has different ways of speaking. So that could be a barrier. Number two, everyone has different levels of familiarity with certain financial terms. That's a second possible barrier. Number three, everyone has different ways of learning. Some people are visual, some people are demonstrative, some people are all of it. Some people want it all. I just want to see y'all ball. That's all. Okay, so don't feel overwhelmed by any of this because as long as you are alive in America, you're going to have a credit score. So I know they always have rumors of this is leaving, that is coming. Until it happens, you still are on the field. That is like you're on the football field and someone says, in 2 weeks, this football field is going to be closed. That does not mean the game that you're playing right now is over. You still have to get in the field. You have to make it, you know? So, I mean, you don't have to really. You can throw the game if you want to. So, especially if you sports bet on the other team. But anyway, so if you have no credit history, the system has nothing to evaluate. No data equals no trust. When lenders talk about your history, they're referring to your credit report. Your credit report is the full record of your borrowing behavior. It shows your accounts, balances, payments, collections, and applications. Your credit score is simply the number calculated from that report that predicts how likely you are to repay debt. Real life examples. Two people apply for the same apartment. Person A makes 70K but has no credit. Person B makes 45K with a 720 credit score. Person B often gets approved first. And that's because the person A that's making 70K doesn't have a credit score that day. But person B with 45K to in the 70-20 score to C, they like the reliability matters more than the money in that instance. Because as long as both parties are making above whatever the income requirement is, then the person with the best credit score is going to, that's kind of like at a job. If they have a request for a new shift and they say that the end date is March 10th, but then a bunch of people sign up. So the first requirement was signing up before March 10th. So now, boom, to narrow it down, they're like, okay, we're going to start with seniority. And then from seniority, if people start mixing and matching from there, then they might do something like the letter in the alphabet or something like that. Just different things like that. Because credit measures reliability, not just income. Action steps. If you're starting from zero, you can open a secure credit card. Let's take a look. I'm just going to demonstrate what I would do if I were you. What I would do if I was needing to find information on a secure credit card, because I know it is so easy to say, hello, you like the information, you need to go and do your own damn research. But it's like that's such a vague statement, and that's assuming the listener has done research in school before. Because for me personally, we had a lot of projects at the schools I attended, but that was because of the classes I was in required that. That was not something everyone did. So to assume that everyone did that, that's kind of, I don't know, like after seeing so much of life, I don't think that we should assume everyone experienced what we experienced, because it's not humanly possible. It's so many variations to life that people have experienced. Like even being from New Orleans, like so many different people who are from here, their experience is different from mine. And both our experiences are valid. So no, I'll show you what research looks like. if it were me. This is just a deeper explanation. A secure credit card requires a refundable security deposit that acts as collateral, typically setting your credit limit designed for building or repairing credit. These credit cards report to credit bureaus, allowing users with low or no credit to improve their score. And it happens pretty quickly. Like, as far as the results, that's not really a promise. As far as saying that, it's facts, because with credit cards, they report monthly. So once you actually get a secure credit card and you're successfully paying your monthly payments on time, keeping your usage below a certain amount, you will see a change. Like, that's something that definitely happens. So even if you have like recently negative things that happen, a secure credit card might get you better results than paying a credit company. But the choice is yours because the money is yours. Like, the money is able to be used for whatever the person who has access to decides. So, it's not really a jury that decides where people money go. Your banking system decides if it's not fraud, but it's not too many things with that. So now we're going to scroll down. As you can see, when you first search on Google, you see the sponsor results. I typically skip those. So here, it looks like this is the source website they use for this information. So like the questions here, how does a secure credit card work? Which was what we just read up there. They basing that off of information from this website. So that's why this website is right here. And then how to choose a secure credit card. That's more information. And then you see they have Experian. Credit Karma also can refer you to secure credit cards if you use them, which they are a credit score app. Last time I saw they were free, allegedly. Let me make sure I'm not logged in. Yeah, I'm not. And this just shows you the different ones. For credit one, it's a $200 refundable deposit. This is your interest. Interest only accrues if you have a balance at the statement date. If you have a $200 credit card and you spend $20 a day with it, but you put the $20 back every day, then you're never going to collect interest on that because it's not sitting there the whole month. But with credit cards, subscriptions, and everything else, they bet on the fact that people's busy lives will make them forget. So eventually a person may hit the statement date a few times, and you might have maxed the whole card out, but you knew you was gonna pay it back, but then you forgot. So then that statement date hit, now they just got some interest off of that. Because really interest runs like a lot of stuff. So much stuff is funded by interest. Like even dividends, it comes from when you have a savings account. Those dividends come from them loaning your money out for interest, starting from zero. So yeah, open a secure credit card is an option. Deposit 200 to 500. Use it lightly. Pay on time monthly. This begins your credit file. And if you deposit 300, your limit is 300. So depending on the company you go with, because each company is gonna have their own, based off of that search I just showed you, you can see the small details, and you can either choose to do the minimum deposit because you're just building your credit. You're not trying to rush it because you really can't rush it. Like, unless you were a victim of fraud and everything that made your credit bad is fraud, there's no other way to rush it. It's just to work through it. And faster results are easier to mess up because you really don't know how it works still. But when you have a journey and things that you're doing in increments and in steps and in levels, you really absorb all of the information. You see all of the ins and outs. You learn the way you operate in it, because we have goals, but we have to understand with goals comes discipline. Some goals require way more discipline than others. Some goals don't need any discipline because as long as you in the room, it's gonna keep going. Kind of like a house plant. As long as you watering it and giving it a little sun, it's gonna be there. You don't have to do all of the extra stuff unless it's a unique situation. So discipline is very big when it comes to money, health, anything. Rushing feels good, them quick results feel good, but it is not good because it's not building resilience, it's not building strength, it's not building to know like discipline with money is knowing that you can't always say yes to every invite. And discipline is going to be that you say no without even thinking. You say no without over explaining. You say no without feeling guilt because you can be a friend, a family member, a lover, but you can't be anything to anyone if you don't exist. You have to first take care of the person that everyone sees. Like if everyone seeing you is more important than you taking care of yourself, they won't be seeing you for long. Like people really think that they can get away with not taking care of themselves, but we see it all around us. We see it with people our age. We see it with people younger than us. We see it with people older than us. We see it with people that may have been from a certain era in our life. How we may look back to elementary school and look at how many people not here. How many of them not here because of mental things? How many of them not here because of addiction or other stuff? Like, so discipline in one area can really change your life because when you able to develop discipline, it's not going to immediately translate over to the other areas, but you can connect it. It's kind of like if you don't have any phone service. If you don't have any phone service, you can't connect the phone nowhere. But if you get one phone line in the living room, the phone people could come back and run them lines into the other rooms. So now you have connections in all of the rooms where you had none, but you started with one. That's how life is as well. Like, so with the financial thing, environment plays a big part. Like that's why learning yourself is important because when you learning yourself, you're going to learn how many things about you are being influenced from the outside. How many things did your job influence on you? Did your environment, your neighborhood, your family, your religion, your beliefs, your non-beliefs, like your relationships, like your close people in your life, like or just people you maybe move a certain way so that you don't get attention, which means that you're not doing certain things or you don't feel comfortable doing certain things or you're embarrassed to ask certain questions. Like all of those things during self-discovery, however long that may take, you work through those issues. So, and that makes a lot of stuff easier because then you stop feeling that shame. Because I notice as life goes on, people start to use their own age to bash themselves. I'm 35, I should have this, and this. I'm 25, I should have this, and this. Okay, while that may or may not be true, ask yourself, why don't you have it? And then from there, just review everything. And everything that is the reason why, ask yourself, are those things still present? So if you didn't get that car because you didn't have the money and you didn't have that money because All-Star weekend happened and this, and this, ask yourself if another All-Star weekend happened, will that prevent me again? Like you have to really look deep. And these types of discussions will never happen if you keep shaming yourself. Like it's and it makes it worse that people who usually are in the space to give advice, they heavily shame the people too. But I think that's kind of I don't know for the people. Some people may not intentionally do it, but I know for sure the people who are intentionally doing it, they use the fact that a lot of people were chastised as children, and that fear still lives on in them, and that shame still lives on in them because we romanticize it so much that people don't think it's nothing that we need to recover from. And so when people in public are in spaces where people want to be a part of or succeed in, they use that tough love thing and it kind of triggers that inner child in people and it subconsciously makes them anyways too much for that. Back to the money thing. So statement date versus due date. Two critical dates control your reporting. The statement date is when your balance gets reported to credit bureaus. Your due date is when payment must be made to avoid late fees. And I'm gonna let those illustrations sit up there for a second. But these are also deposit becomes your credit limit, bills trust safely, beginner account. And then let the good credit times roll, your deposit equals parade pass. This actually was for Mardi Gras, but New Orleans is seen as a Mardi Gras city, so y'all let me pass with that one. And so a real life example, if your credit limit is $300 and you spend $30, that is 300, that's 10% utilization. To simplify, if you have a $1,000 credit limit, if you use $300, that is 30%. And then if you use $500, that's 50%. Then if you use all 1,000, that's 100%. And keep in mind also with credit cards, you can pay them anytime. So you don't have to wait. It's not like an electricity bill or a phone bill where it's before or after. When you're using your credit card, like if you use it today, you can pay it tomorrow or whenever the charge is fully post and the balance updates with the amount you spent, you can pay that at any time. So you don't have to wait until your statement date or wait until the due date. And that helps a whole lot as well. And the action steps for credit utilization is to use less than 30%. The ideal range is 1 to 9%. Pay before statement date, never miss payments. And then let's see if the good old internet has any extra tips. Tips for success with secure. Wait, why I say success with Ozempic? That's funny. Y'all searching about success with Ozempic? I would say take fiber supplements and drink a lot of water because, and also have a stool softener because it will definitely get you up out there. Okay, so let me pull the screen up for y'all to see it too, or for you, wherever you are. It says success with secure credit cards require paying your statement balance in full and on time every month, keeping utilization below 30%. Okay, we skip that. Key tips: pay in full and on time, keep utilization low, use regularly, make small, regular purchases to show activity, but don't overspend. You see how this is though? Like, basically, it's giving a recovering person something fragile and expecting them to keep it safe. Like, upgrade or graduate, aim to move up to an unsecured card once your credit improves. Oh, baby, you ain't got to worry about that. When you get a secure card, make sure whatever address you use, you comfortable with the world knowing it because it's going to immediately show up on your credit score. And also, you're about to, you might want to sign up for every do not mail list. Matter of fact, I can show you that as well because that's something very important. Junk mail is so annoying. Okay, so since this is I guess no sponsors, but this is actually a straight up list now. Like how earlier the other search I showed you started off with sponsored. Okay, this is consumer.ftc.gov. Also for y'all, like Americans, if you ever have free time, you don't have to do this, but if you ever bored, find yourself doom scrolling, check out the different government websites that we have that in the country because they have a lot of hidden benefits on them or hidden information or even useful information. Like you can what to do about unwanted calls, emails, and text messages. Let's see. topic, unwanted calls, and you can also report fraud too. I know real estate fraud is very common now, so and they're targeting people with bad credit as well for that. So any of those second chance home buying places, watch out. That's the format they're using because they're betting on the fact that most people are not going to report it out of shame. Because that's one thing that people who are bad actors do. They typically prey on people who are going to be in too much shame to report what's been done to them. Like that's why I always encourage people appropriately, not overbearing or unsolicited advice, but I always encourage people, whatever way it takes, to have more awareness on human behaviors, the way humans process emotions, the way humans handle trauma. Just have the starter kit of it. You don't even have to become a rocket science of psychology king or queen. So it's like you could easily, just to know, because whatever you don't know, like regardless of how you feel about stuff, all of that stuff, psychology, therapy, anything, everything you don't know, somebody's using that against you. Not saying that it's a bunch of people in this big old forest behind your house with red eyes looking at you, but even in passing, like how salespeople try to get attention from people, or if you're somewhere and the person is trying to run a scam on you, they look at certain things to know who's on go and who not. Or that's why like certain people may feel like they only attract this or they only attract that. Yeah, yeah. People know when you're vulnerable. And then also a lot of people who are prey, depending on what they prey on, some predators have multiple categories of prey. But start paying attention to areas where it's a lot of prey at, like for children. Look at the people who surround themselves in places that have lots of children, especially unattended children. Or when it comes to money, look at the places where people surround themselves with people who have either financial illiteracy or people who are not in positions to know what to do with their money. Like places that surround themselves around clubs because they know people who leaving outside of the club is going to be intoxicated, or even people who try to break windows and stuff. You see a lot of clubs have instances where multiple windows and concerts with multiple windows because that's prey. Those predators were looking for, in them instances, items. So they found sitting ducks. They know concerts are however long. They're looking at probability because people who are predators, they use probability to their advantage. So, for instance, if a person wanted to make it to point A to point B, if they focus the whole time, the probability of making it there is higher. But if you add texting and driving, you just increase the probability of an accident and decrease the probability of a safe arrival. Then if not only they texting and driving, they looking, they not paying attention to the road, and they missing turns and they hitting curves. So each thing is making a probability of negativity go up and a probability of safety go down. Predators look at all of that. They look at all of that with people. And that's why, if you notice, for people who may become more aware, once you become more aware, you notice that people stop rocking with you because you're not able to be manipulated anymore. If anything, you may be dangerous because if you stay around too long, you're going to figure out the whole operation beginning and end. And once you expose the situation, you're going to be exposed the whole story before the movie even be released. But nevertheless, credit utilization, that was my little, whatever you call this, illustration. So utilization is the balance divided by the limit. Honestly, with the way that technology has advanced, you should not be calculating that. Like I would imagine that every credit app automatically gives it for you for each card individually, and also your overall credit card balance for all your cards together. So you should not have to do that. I mean, if you want to practice, like, or if you have children or people, younger people, that would be something that you can give them like little homework assignments and stuff to kind of get it in their brain. And, that way they'll be able to juggle it. But apps will have all of that information. And statement versus due date. Two critical dates control your reporting. And I'm also getting deja vu recording this because I actually recorded this video on the 15th, but technical difficulties. So it really hit me that it wasn't like it. I wasn't gonna be able to post it, so I had to take a minute before I redid it because I don't like redundancy. So to sit up here and repeat all this, even though honestly I'm not even repeating everything because my information I'm giving, the facts are what I'm reading, but personal experiences and my insight, that's from me. So what I recorded that day is lost to history because it's the stuff I'm saying now is not what I said that day. I don't even remember what I said because I don't, never mind. Anyways, so the statement date is when your balance gets reported to credit bureaus. The due date is when payment must be made to avoid late fees. You can pay on time, but still hurt your score if high balances report first. So like, especially around holiday time when banks shut down, processing time slow down, maybe you may be someone based off of your pay time, because I've been that someone once upon a lifetime where that if you had one or two jobs, that payday, that last payday always hit perfect with something that was due either a few days before or a few days after. So the second check became the check for insurance, or the second check became the check for your car note, or the second check became the check for whatever you spent on your credit card, to where maybe you might have a random life shift to where you either start a new job and was starting a new job, man, that them periods in between paychecks, God forbid you got a every 2 week job. That first check being anywhere from 3 weeks. Some jobs take a month if you work 2 weeks, depending on whatever system you have, or if it's the 15th and the 30th. Whew. So that could be something that might set you back one time, and then it'll hurt your credit score. But if that is something that hurts your credit score, don't let it hurt your feelings, because that's not anything really. I mean, it's because it's not permanent. It happened, and really, balance is not going to, like, if you can pay a balance off, that's all that matters. And if you can prevent it from being late, that's all that matters. If you can't prevent it from being late and you tried everything, hopefully you actually did try everything. And if you ever find yourself late or struggling, please research what it's things you can do, because I'm sure they have some type of idea that never hit you. Or try 211. Matter of fact, let me pull that up too. 211 is nationwide. So they may be able to get you to something local if they themselves, like, if something that you need is really important to where it hurts you to not have it, then you owe it to yourself to don't give up, because giving up is the worst thing you can do if you know you're gonna feel bad about it. Even though you can't control how you feel about stuff, all you can do is understand why you feel that way, and then after the understanding, true understanding, and then acceptance, you may or may not be able to move past it. But it all depends on what you tell yourself too, because a common flaw is negative self-talk about, I'm so stupid for this, or I'm so dumb for that, I'll never learn, and whatever. I don't know what that is. But 211 is a free, confidential 24/7 service in the US and Canada that connects people to essential local community service by dialing 211. Texting your zip code to shark code 898211 or searching online. You can find assistance for food, housing, utilities, bills, healthcare, and disaster recovery. Key services provided by 211: basic needs, food pantries, clothing, shelter, rent, and utility assistance. health resources, mental health, addiction, Medicaid and Medicare services, crisis disaster, support for emergencies and disaster recovery, specialized help, services for veterans, seniors, and legal employment assistance. And this is their website. Well, this is one of their websites because actually certain cities around the country have, and certain states have an additional 211 page for themselves with their particular assistances on there and things like that. This looks like more of a generic website. Not sure where to start. Your local, see like your local 211, and you can find it near you, because shame prevents a lot of people from getting help as well. I've witnessed it personally growing up, especially where we lived. A lot of people didn't want to get the assistance that they needed, and they suffer for it. And a lot of the times it was not just inner shame, it was out of shame. It was not wanting to feel embarrassed for other people to know that you got help. But honestly, unless pleasing people is something that makes you happy or makes you money, and money makes you happy, if it's not a connection to happiness or peace when it comes to people pleasing, there is no benefit in doing it, especially if it's long-term people pleasing. If you're doing temporary situations, or you're in a job interview, or you're in an environment with strangers and you being cordial, that's still people pleasing, but it's the word itself just sounds so bad that you don't want to ever feel like you people pleasing. But I guess I could come up with a better word. You're just existing calmly. There we go. So existing calmly is something that we do in a lot of situations. But when you make your life around it, because the whole idea is that who we are at home is still who we are to other people, but we're supposed to be the full version of ourselves, at least at minimum at home. Some people are the full versions of themselves everywhere, good and bad. You can think of a good way that they have that work and a bad way. But either way, it's always going to be a good, like not really a good and bad, but like pluses and minuses to things. And that'll be a better way to reframe it too, instead of saying good and bad, plus and minuses, because good always signifies good, and then it channels the spiritual or religious side of us of thinking good, and then bad channels the religious or spiritual side of us of thinking evil, which some things when it comes to human nature is not good or evil. It's intention based. It's based off of the person and the exact context. Okay, so next we have credit builder loans. A credit builder loan is an installment account, meaning fixed payments over time. This differs from credit cards, which are revolving with usable balances. A real life example is you open a credit builder loan for $500. You pay $50 monthly, and payments report each month. At the end, you receive $500 and you build credit without borrowing. So to review that, because if that's your first time ever hearing that, that probably sounds like who, what, when, where, scam, why, scam. So what that is okay. So with a credit builder loan, you would start with the amount. Like if you start with 500 or 3,000, you would pick that amount, and that's the amount you're promising to pay the company. But you're not paying it to them forever. You're giving it to them, and they're recording it on your credit score as a payment to that loan. But once you complete that time, depending on how many months it is, it could be anywhere from 6 to 24 months, you get the money back. And the lender reports these on-time payments to all three major credit bureaus, Equifax, Experian, and TransUnion. And after the final payment, the lender releases the funds. And it also says it's best for individuals with no credit, a thin credit profile, or poor credit. And then the top providers are these companies here: Self, Financial, Civic, and then you can see the links. And let me try a sound effect. Okay, so it's not that much left, but I would definitely want to keep this under an hour. So credit mix. Credit mix refers to having revolving and installment accounts, managing, well, actually, back right quick. Action steps when it comes to credit builder loans. You want to choose small loan amounts. You want to have it on auto pay from the account monthly. So if you could, if you have a debit card or a spell bank account, you can put the full amount of money in there if you have it already and just have it auto pay the monthly amount. So that way you don't ever have to worry about it overdrafting or messing up with anything else. And you can also make the payments with a secure card that you use, and this will build credit mix. Credit mix refers to having both revolving and installment accounts. Revolving is going to be credit card because credit cards are revolving. Like every month, it's a different balance. No matter what, either the balance is going down because you're paying it, or it's going up because it's catching interest. Or it's if you have no balance at all and you're not using it at all, it's just gonna be chilling. It's not gonna report it. So those months that you have a zero balance and you didn't use your card at all, that's not gonna count as a payment history because you're not paying. It only counts the months that you pay or the months that you have a payment due and you missed. And also, too, don't forget, I say this too late, but if I talk too fast, you can definitely change the speed of speaking, or if I talk too slow, you can speed it up as well. And section 6, the first 90-day strategy. Your first 3 months to shape your profile. This is where most beginners sabotage themselves. First 90-day strategy is going to be keep utilization low, set auto pay, avoid new applications. Avoiding new applications means don't apply for credit for anything else, even if it says pre-approved, because the approval itself isn't going to use your credit. But if you actually accept the offer of whatever you pre-approved for, that's going to hit your credit. So that'll be considered a new application because it's going to automatically process it and put an inquiry as well. So in my experience, at least. And the common mistakes are maxing out cards, missing payments, applying for multiple accounts. Your payment history, which tracks whether you pay on time, is the largest scoring factor. The common mistakes I had was when I first, you might see my face expressing because I'm thinking deeply. But when I first received the credit card, I was working two jobs, so I was a little bit too cocky about my spending because the way it worked was that this was a financially illiterate mind that only knew when you need more money, you do more work. So if I need more money, I work more hours at my first job. First job was full time, so bam, get a second job. Then second job, get a promotion or do overtime or take everybody's shifts because most people didn't want to work at the jobs I used to work at. So I used to be the Grim Reaper of hours. That was the nickname they gave me. And they gave me that at one job. And every time people would highlight how hard I worked as far as many hours I worked, I would always remind them that someone told me that I'm the Grim Reaper of hours. The hours other people take for granted, I take it, you know. So for me, my spending was just based off of all of the things that people who financially illiterate do. Honestly, if you really look at you, the viewer, your life, your spending, your parents spending, everyone around you, even the people we look up to from childhood who are famous and maybe even local people, do you notice that majority of the people do not have like the full package? Like they might know what a credit score is. They might even have a good credit score, but they don't have the full tenacity of being able to navigate having good credit, not spending too much, not getting in debt, even though some situations are justified to people in their life. If in that moment, then you needed a new car because you have a bigger family, you know, and so things happen. But so it's like this unrealistic expectation that we have when we do these things, like maxing out cards, missing payments. And for a lot of people, if you have friends or if you are close with your family and like all of this, like whatever new information you seek, if the people who currently are not are around you don't have any experience, knowledge, acceptance of that, you're gonna have the time of your life, baby. Especially if the people are stuck in their ways or stuck in the way of whatever group y'all had, because maybe the whole group might have had a particular thought process that everybody was too afraid to leave from. When you're leaving these things behind, especially when it comes to financial literacy, if you from environments where a lot of people are in debt or impoverished, good luck. Good luck. Like the easiest cheat code to transform your life is to do it alone. And that's why it's so hard to be alone, because alone is like that lost area on a video game where it's you never know where to find it. But once you get in there, it's like a whole different game. Or like a deleted scene in the movie where you see a deleted scene that just make you look at the movie completely differently in a good way. It's like being alone to a certain extent for self recovery, self discovery, and self upgraded. It's the safest thing you could do, because when you're trying to grow in front of people, they're going to interrupt your growth. Imagine if trees and plants grew in front of us in real time. Like we could see a tree go from being a stalk, a little beanstalk, to a tree in real time. You think people would just sit and watch that? Or some people might try to cut it down, or some people might try to pull on the leaves, or some people might try to manipulate the process to see what results they get. That's the same thing that happens. Or if the tree getting too high, people, you got to chop it down, because some people see it as a risk, so they feel like they need to chop it down. And some people, with your growth, you growing too fast for them, or they only saw you as who you were before you decided to heal. Because as much as people may feel like or tell you they want to see you change or want to see you do better, they're saying that in the present because they are seeing you as that person you are or currently were forever. So it's easy to tell you that they want to see you win, because yes, the you're there looking at, they want to see him win or her win or them win. But when you are growing, the human brain tends, even if we know the people, the human brain sees new things as threats. So if it's seeing a familiar person, but they're not able to get the same reactions out of you, they're not able to get you to spend the same way, they're not able to get you to engage in the same wasteful activities, because you started looking at life differently, realizing if you're on the phone with this person an hour to 4 hours a day, or if you out with them an hour to 4 hours a day, if you multiply that times how many days we have in a year, or and divide that by how much you make an hour at work, you didn't waste thousands, tens of thousands of time dollars, not cash dollars, but time dollars. And also, as cliche as it sounds, growing around people makes their inner insecurities and different secrets, because no matter who people are, especially if it's a person that's not mentally healthy, they're going to have insecurities. And especially the people who, the most negative person you know is the most insecure person you know. That person who always talk about people, who always bringing up negative stuff, who always the first person to tell you some mess from the internet. If you tell them you left social media, they still sending you memes. Those people are so insecure, and the negativity is escapism for their own negativity. They don't have to look at themselves if they always have to talk about other people. So with these types of journeys, good luck. That's all I will tell you. For me, you got to put you first, Lucius. So two beginners open cards. Person A uses $20 monthly. Person B maxes 300. After 90 days, person A score rises. Person B stalls. Action steps: keep utilization under 10%, set auto pay, avoid new applications. And remember, if you ever use auto pay, If you have a history of overdraft, have a action plan for that, which one may be, if you have a checking account, open up a savings account with that same company, and that's an option that a person could do. And then have the loan money for the installment loan money for the actual credit booster, the credit builder loan money come out of the savings account. And since it's only one draft a month, it's not going to be frequent savings. I know certain banks, if you have too many transactions coming out of your savings accounts, they charge a fee for that. I don't know if that's still a thing, but I know once upon a bank account it was. So, and next, fastest way to build credit, but don't shoot for speed. Please don't. Just shoot for stability. Like if your goal is to save a penny a day, if you can consistently save a penny a day and you do that and you able to do it to where you don't even think about it no more, and then you slowly upgrade it to a nickel a day, then you upgrade it to $1 a day. That's how you build strength. If you look at everything that you're able to do as a human, like if you're able to feed yourself, or if you're able to brush your teeth, or whatever abilities you have access to, you didn't just start doing those things. You had to perfect them. Now you probably done so many things for so many years that the time that it was new to you is completely out of your mind. You don't remember the fear you had or the nervousness you had, especially driving. Driving. For you drivers, put your hand out my face. Let me stop. But for you drivers, perfect example. Remember that. I really don't know anyone who wasn't afraid when they first drove, except me. But anyway, so the fastest ways to build credit would be higher limit increases. But this contradicts everything, because if you have bad credit, then you're not going to get a limit increase. So a real life example, a $300 limit, and you have a $150 balance, but if your limit increased to $1,000, your same balance of $150 would then drop down to 15%, because it's 150 out of 1,000 instead of 150 out of 300. So the score improves instantly. And when you building your credit, you're going to be getting a lot of offers of credit increases, and it's going to feel good, and it should feel good, because it's not feeling good because of the credit card company. It's feeling good because the credit card company offering you that is a signal of your progress. So learn how to keep your achievements separate from these companies. Don't let your brain mash them together, because then it's going to kind of subconsciously manipulate you into accepting whatever offers they give you, or with extended peer pressure you into something that you may later regret. Remember that anytime you make a change in someone else's system, the celebration is not about the system, except maybe something that means a lot to you, like a diploma, a degree, a promotion, or something like that. But even still, appreciate your work that got you the promotion. No matter what other people may say about your work, you did something. Something you did got you in that position. So whatever it is, give that the energy, because it came from you. The outward thing is still a part of the material world, and those things can be taken away. And and that's an understanding point. And what understandings, we don't think about understandings all day. It kind of exists in the back of our mind, like wall art. Like wall art don't talk or walk. I hope it don't, but mine don't. So, but it still has a place in the room. So when it comes to like things in the material world and understanding that things get taken away is not being negative. It's allowing you, when you have new losses in life, to understand, and you still go through the grieving process. But from personal experience, my grieving process has lasted way longer when I didn't have understanding. Like I was able to separate the feeling of loss from the actual overall feeling of being robbed of a person, being robbed of an experience, being robbed, so many different things. So understanding is huge, like discipline. You can use it in other parts of life. And action steps is to allegedly request increases every 6 months, I wouldn't recommend unless you really just because the companies would do it. But really, my recommendation shouldn't matter for anything because I don't believe that people should just do stuff because somebody else told them. You can use the information that they gave you and then compare it to your reality and see what's realistic for you because given the vast differences in the world and even in states and cities, people live completely different lives. So, credit repair. If your credit is damaged, we repair in tiers. Any negative event is called a derogatory mark. Level one, late payments, high balances. Action steps, pay balances below 30%. Bill 6 month on time streak. Level two, moderate damage. Examples, collections, charge offs. A collection happens when unpaid debt is sold to a third party. A charge off means the lenders wrote the debt off as a loss, but you still owe it. Action steps, verify debt, negotiate settlements, requests pay for delete, dispute inaccuracies. Pay for delete is when you decide that you're going to pay a collection, and when you're negotiating with the collection agency agent, you let them know that if I pay this, or do you agree to take this off my credit completely? So instead of it sitting as a paid collections, it just gets removed. And you always, whenever you're dealing with anything in money, well, really anything that is with people, I would recommend have a paper trail, paper trail, paper trail, paper trail, because relying on word of mouth is like relying on snow in the deep south. Like it may happen, it may not. But another is repossessions, foreclosures, bankruptcies. Recovery requires rebuilding from scratch, and action steps are open secure card, add builder loan, maintain perfect payments. And then an inquiry occurs when your credit report is pulled. Hard inquiries occurs when applying for credit. It impacts scores slightly. Soft inquiry occurs when checking your own credit, no score impact. A soft inquiry is whenever you log on to any credit score app for yourself. So anytime you are putting your information to see your information, that is a soft inquiry, and it's not even counted. It's just something. It's the name of the activity that you're doing. And then for hard inquiries, that's when you're applying for credit for something. Usually, if they say pre-approved or no hard credit pull before approval, they'll do a soft inquiry, but generally it's a hard inquiry if you're applying. And score growth timeline. Credit growth takes time. 30 days, you'll see small gains. 3 months, noticeable. 6 months, major growth. 12 months, strong profile. That's the same thing with weight loss. Like as far as journeys and stuff like that. I would really say realistically, with continuous action, if you can continuously put something towards something, even if it's a day that you're feeling low, and that's another thing too, plan for your highs and lows. If you know that you have depression, or if you know that you have different things that can distract you from goals, or that have distracted you in the past. That's why it's important to learn from the past without shame, to make pattern connections of your own patterns, and also to see what distracts you. Like, are you lover crazy to where when you single, you achieve so much, but every time you get in a relationship, you end up giving your all to these people because you have a caregiver mindset due to childhood trauma. So now you're always dealing with needy people who end up taking so much of your personal time to where all you can really do is just go to work and worship them when you're not at work. Like a lot of those things play a part. That's when you set realistic goals with yourself, because unless it's a therapist, it's really dangerous when you finding out about yourself to just be telling everybody what you know about yourself, especially your weak points, because we still are in the wild. Like we don't want to be animals so bad, but we have similarities to animals so bad. Like animals be related to each other, and you see what happens with Scar did Mufasa, and then you have people who are around you, like neighborhood, public. You thinking just because y'all share a space together that they're a safe person? Like no. So you just have to understand most people who you consider winning, they have a certain level of self-preservation. So the fact that some of the people who manipulate the public always try to make people feel bad for looking after themselves when they blatantly look after themselves, but I guess because of whatever position they hold, they just able to do that. I don't know. Anyway, so beginner versus intermediate strategy. Beginners should focus on payment history, low utilization, and starter accounts. If you already past that phase and you have those under wraps, intermediates should work on credit age, which that's a time thing. As long as you have an account open, your credit age is going to grow. Now, every time you open a new account, that's going to lower your credit age temporarily because the credit age is the average time all your accounts that are open were open. And mixed expansion, that's when you have different types of credit, mortgage, car loan, revolving credit, such as credit cards, installment loans, such as student loans, or if you were to get a credit builder loan, and spacing out your inquiries, which is spacing out you like if you're going to do applications, you want to already know you're going to be approved so you don't have to do applications in vain. And now that we went over how to build and repair credit, the next level is leverage. In part three, we'll break down how to use credit to build wealth instead of just borrowing to survive. But keep in mind, like always look up information. Any questions you have, I would definitely recommend to just put them into the internet because we have all of the information from human history available to us online. Like anything you could think of, you can find it on the internet. Like anything as far as history, maybe recipes, how to's for things that you probably would have had to pay for in the past. You can learn how to self defense online. They have people who had injuries that looked at content from physical therapists and were able to achieve results that even the actual people in person couldn't help them with. So just continue to research and always keep your own mind about stuff because when situations are comfortable, it's easy for everyone to make you feel like they have your best interest. But when times are intense, you will see who is there with thee. But yeah, so thank you. Come again.
Like, comment, and subscribe to J New Orleans.